Moreno lives here in Berkeley, California, a city known for the arts and free speech, a fitting place for a performer who likes to speak her mind.
We are profoundly passionate people. Pathologically passionate. Everything in excess, nothing in moderation.
After wrapping up her autobiographical one-woman show, Rita Moreno was inspired to write her self-titled memoir. This bright star of stage and screen lays bare her life. Readers get the backstory to the triumphs and the lows of a career spanning 7 decades. Professionally and personally, there were plenty of struggles.
You give credit, to perseverance and hope for your career longevity. Were you born with that, or was that something you had to learn, acquire along the way?
I think it can be acquired and you can be born with it. I think I was born with it. It's so much a part of my nature.
A part of her nature that was put to use at an early age. In 1936, she was uprooted when her mother decided to leave the tropical playgrounds of her native Puerto Rico for the cold ghettos of urban America.
I was 5 years old when I came to this country meaning at the time, New York City. And I was in for a shock because you leave this paradise and you come to this freezing cold, gray, concrete, gritty city, and you say to yourself, if you can even think in such terms, what is my mother thinking?
It took young Rita years to understand the thinking, but she soon found an outlet in dance lessons. A talent was exposed, leading to her profession.
You always knew you wanted to be a performer. You've been doing this a long time.
Yes, I'm 81 now, and I started when I was about 5 years old. And the first paid job was extraordinary. I think it was a Jewish wedding or a bar mitzvah. It was one of those two things. And I did my little Carmen Miranda imitations. And of course, all they had to pay me was $10. So they were thrilled, I was thrilled. And I've never stopped. This is what I love to do. I love to do what I am paid to do, and that I get to be paid for it is astonishing to me.
But it hasn't always been easy. A teenager when she first arrived in Hollywood, Rita was a young woman in search of herself.
I wasted unhappily a lot of years trying to be Elizabeth Taylor, who was my icon.
Oh, we can see that in some of the photos.
This was a girl trying not to be who she was. I was trying to be anybody else but who I was. I did not want to be Latina.
The studio system of the 1950s quickly typecast Rita as an all-purpose ethnic actress.
Anything that was dusky-skinned and had to have an accent, an outsider. And the funny part of it, the amusing part, which is also in the book, is that I made up an accent because all of these creatures were from other countries. Nobody ever said you have to have an accent. I assumed I had to. So I invented what I now call the universal ethnic accent.
Which just
They
cracks
all
me
sounded
up.
alike.
And they all sounded alike.
The problem was the Polynesian girl sounded just like the East Indian girl. I did it for the money for years and years and years because I had to work. And I know that a lot of young people in the past have asked me, well, why did you just quit? Hey, that was my living. This was my love. This is what I wanted to do. And I really understood somewhere inside of me that somehow, someday, someone would see that I had talent. I knew I had talent, but they only saw me as an ethnic person.
While these roles provided work, building a career on buckskin did little for Rita's sense of self-worth, and degrading roles in films were followed by real-life drama. Rita met Marlon Brando in 1954 on a movie set. In the years to come, they carried on an on-again, off-again damaging love affair.
Great sex, but a lot of humiliation. Why did you keep going back?
I think it's called obsession. He was my drug. He was my cocaine, my heroin. And incidentally, I was his as well. It was mutual obsession with each other. But I was really in love with him. I loved him. There was lots to love, believe it or not. The truth is that he was also a fascinating man. He had enormous intelligence. He had a gorgeous vocabulary. And in a way, he became my Professor Higgins to my Eliza.
While she credits Brando with refining her manners, his behavior was far from polished.
He was a bad guy. He was a bad guy when it came to women. And there were so many times that he cheated.
When presented with an opportunity, Rita dated Elvis Presley, her own form of relationship retribution. The king wasn't her type, but the dates made Brando jealous.
Marlon went up in smoke. The fact that he was diddling with all kinds of ladies all over the place was irrelevant. He went up in smoke, and it was for a very short span of time. It was marvelous.
But things got to a point, though, with Brando where you almost cut short your own longevity. You attempted suicide.
I did.
With pills.
I did it because I couldn't bear the pain of being humiliated every time I went back. It was like going back on the drugs. And I thought there was absolutely no hope for me. I was miserable. I looked awful. I was thin as a rail. Great big hollows in this very small face. And I took a number of pills from his bathroom. And it was very scary to me because I remember before I took them, I said to myself, this is not a movie. I was looking in the mirror. Remember, this is not a movie. If you do this, it's forever. And I thought a long time with the pills in my hand, and I finally threw them on all at once so I wouldn't change my mind. And I drank a full glass of water and went to bed. It was his bed, his house, and went there to die.
She was discovered by Brando's assistant and taken to a hospital.
I was saved, but let me tell you something about suicide that I want to share with everyone. It's so important. What happens when you're that truly unhappy and miserable and in such psychic pain is that you think it will never end. It never occurred to me to go to somebody and say, help me. I think I'm on the brink. People who need to end that kind of pain don't do that. They don't do that. And it's what you need to do because that someone is going to help you get over this hump. I got the most horrible experience of my life when my mother and my younger brother, much younger brother, saw me at the hospital. He was about 14. I could see in his face, you didn't think about me, did you? If I thought I was miserable before, I could not look them in the face.
Rita's suicide attempt occurred shortly after she finished filming West Side Story. A year later, in 1962, she won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her portrayal of Anita, a spirited young Puerto Rican woman.